The abyssal darkness that swallows light and hope is not merely a dungeon to be conquered, but a mirror reflecting the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. And true progression requires not grinding for stats in the shallows, but descending into the pressure until your soul is forged into something capable of withstanding the weight of truth. In the Great Depths, Maxim Holmes delivers an underwater lit RPG that transforms the deep-sea exploration trope into a profound meditation on isolation and embodied resilience, proving that in worlds defined by crushing depth, survival isn't found in optimization. It's forged in the radical act of honoring your fragility when the system demands you become unbreakable. This isn't merely another aquatic progression fantasy with bioluminescent loot. It's a psychologically precise narrative where every fathom descended feels like both revelation and reckoning. Consent to advance is negotiated through somatic attunement rather than assumed endurance, and mastery means listening to the silence when the interface screams for action. From the first submersible hum narration, listeners are immersed in a world where pressure is pedagogy and presence is the only reliable sonar. Perfect for fans of atmospheric lit RPG and stories where male vulnerability defies genre expectations, this audiobook serves up immersive dread, relentless emotional honesty, and a protagonist whose journey from surface dweller to sovereign of the deep resonates with anyone who's ever mistaken numbness for strength. When marine engineer Kalen Vance is forcibly integrated into the Runeblade system after a catastrophic submersible failure, he expects tactical advantage, not to discover the ocean's crushing depths mirror the exact grief he's buried beneath years of performative competence, and the system's adaptive challenges bypass his technical expertise to force confrontation with emotional truths he spent decades editing out of professional compliance. But as he navigates trench ecosystems and fractured sanity, Kalen realizes this descent isn't about survival. It's about integration. Holmes masterfully avoids reducing Kalen to bumbling diver or the ocean to mere obstacle. Instead, he crafts a narrative where game mechanics become therapeutic framework, where consent is renegotiated through acknowledgement of limitation rather than assumed mastery, and where liberation requires seeing the abyss as teacher before it consumes you. The audiobook narration amplifies this psychological vertigo, capturing Kalen's disciplined focus, fracturing into fierce clarity, while secondary voices, AI companions, deep-sea entities, memories, shift subtly between guidance and judgment, making every dive feel like both test and testimony. You don't just hear him level up, you feel the seismic shift of a man learning that some depths can only be navigated when you stop trying to control the current. What elevates the Great Depths beyond typical underwater lit RPG fare is its nuanced portrayal of deep-sea exploration as somatic practice rather than abstract progression. Kalen isn't merely optimizing builds, he's confronting how engineering culture taught him to equate worth with utility, challenging the notion that safety requires emotional detachment. His relationships evolve through acts of radical reciprocity, sharing silences during decompression stops that bypass performance, establishing protocols that protect both operational integrity and psychological safety, and honoring the ocean's agency against internal narratives that mistake vulnerability for failure. Supporting elements add vital texture, AI constructs whose logic encodes suppressed trauma, deep-sea creatures whose bioluminescence carries ecological wisdom, even the trench itself, rendered as living archive whose hydrothermal vents absorb centuries of unspoken bargains. Every interaction reinforces the novel's core truth. In systems built on extraction, tenderness is technique, and presence is the only sustainable resource. Even the lit RPG mechanics serve thematic depth, with oxygen management mirroring emotional bandwidth, and rune activation becoming metaphors for earned trust. For audiobook listeners, this production is an immersive sensory descent into elemental intimacy. The narrator embodies Kalen's evolution with remarkable range, from clipped professionalism to trembling openness during breakthroughs, while supporting characters are distinguished through vocal textures that honor non-human intelligence without caricature. Sound design enhances atmosphere without overwhelming immersion. Distant whale songs marking temporal rhythm, water pressure against hull plating during vulnerable confessions, the hushed beep of sonar syncing with breath during moments of clarity, all anchor mythic stakes in tangible reality. Pacing mirrors the cadence of deep-sea exploration, deliberate during reflection and alliance building, then surging with urgency as external threats collide with internal awakenings. Whether you're commuting through stable landscapes or sitting in twilight solitude, the audiobook creates a portable sanctuary where slowness feels sacred and embodiment feels lifeline. It's storytelling as somatic validation, transforming passive listening into active participation in a journey where ascension isn't about rising above limits, but about rooting deeper within them. Ultimately, The Great Depths redefines underwater lit RPG by centering male emotional labor within ecological frameworks. It satisfies genre cravings for satisfying progression and high-stakes tension, while delivering substantive commentary on environmental grief, masculine vulnerability, and the radical act of trusting embodied knowledge when systems demand conformity. As Book 1 in the Runeblade series, it establishes a foundation of emotional authenticity that promises depth throughout the saga, yet stands confidently as a complete odyssey for new readers. If you've ever wondered whether strength can coexist with softness, or if true mastery requires embracing what others fear, this audiobook will affirm that sometimes the most powerful act is simply letting the pressure shape you. Press play, descend into the dark, and prepare to believe that even in landscapes shaped by silence, hearts still find ways to glow. Your next favorite lit RPG isn't waiting in flawless builds. It's waiting in the brave, trembling choice to honor the whole truth.